Good morning, everyone. Art Gramaje here, and this is the podcast Art and Soul. Thanks for tuning in. So, I talk about my experience here in Seattle, Washington, watching over my 100-year-old, 3-year-old, my mother. So, chronologically, she's 100, but in practice, she's probably like a 3-year-old, a tired 3-year-old. So, I've been thinking about a contrast that that I'm experiencing. So, one of my all-time favorite movies, depending on my mood, is Shawshank Redemption. The Shawshank Redemption. And it's with Tim Robbins as the protagonist. And, oh my goodness, the name of his sidekick just escaped me. In the movie, he's Red, Morgan Freeman. And the movie follows the story of this Andy who was imprisoned, falsely imprisoned, and his change of life inside a prison. I believe it was in Maine. And his budding friendship with Red, Morgan Freeman. In one of the scenes, Red describes to Andy being institutionalized. And I'm paraphrasing. But in essence, it's getting so used to your environment that thinking of living in a different environment is totally foreign. Institutionalized. And Red's point was that you live long enough in a prison, you become institutionalized. The comforts and the challenges of that prison are what one knows and would be what one prefers. And he doesn't buy into institutionalization. And if you watch the movie, you find out different ways that Andy pushes against, fights against even being institutionalized, even to dire consequences, such as 1 month in the hole, where you don't even see light for a month. But Andy's mind is strong, his will is strong, and that's part of his redemption, thus the title of the movie. So I've been thinking about that scene of being institutionalized. And it's a minor theme that I've touched on here in the podcast is, and I've said it so many times before, you know, I know in my head that I am a Claretian priest, but that's not what I'm living. What I'm living is being my mother's son and just helping with the everyday duties that go on here in the house, eating, sleeping, etc. So I was thinking that after 5.5 years here now, that I'm becoming institutionalized. I've fallen into the routine, even with a major change of moving my mother downstairs. I've fallen into an adapted routine. But I'm wondering if I'm becoming institutionalized into my mother's son at this address, my childhood home. So, will I become Red or will I become Andy? So, the other end of the contrast is I spoke a couple of times to my dear friend and Claretian brother, Father Paul Keller, who is currently our provincial. The provincial of a men's religious order is our equivalent of a bishop. He deals with that level of administration with bishops and our general curia, so to speak, in Rome as Claretians. High level administration. And Paul is a very gifted man, one of the most gifted people I know, probably. And he really does have a gift for administration. And by the way, scripturally speaking, administration is named as one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit. I believe it's in Corinthians. I'm going to look it up afterwards. But but you don't see that at charismatic prayer meetings. No one breaks out pie charts in a PowerPoint presentation on administration as a gift of the Spirit. Nonetheless, talked to Paul a couple times this week, and he's excited. He was just elected this summer, and so many things are new to him. But it seems he is the right person for the right ministry at the right time of our history. And because he is true to himself and does share his gifts, it's been challenging, I think, to certain Claretians who would, like all of us in a lot of ways, rather be more comfortable with the status quo. I like what I'm doing. I've been doing it for so long, and I don't want to do anything else. Even missionaries fall into this trap. Because when there isn't evolution, when there isn't growth, we stagnate. And whether that's personally or ministerially. And Paul is challenging that. I truly believe that's one of the gifts that he has, and it's a gift of the Spirit. But he is preparing for our assembly in February in Los Angeles area, and the dynamics that he's going to put in place will move toward major changes, I believe, in our province. Major shifts of ways of thinking, hopefully, and certainly toward our goals and commitments from our last chapter, which is binding legislation for us. So, in listening to Paul and the tone of his voice, and I'm excited for him. Paul and I were novices together back in 1989 to 1990. So we spent a year of prayer and reflection in preparation for our first vows as Claretian missionaries. And so Paul and I go a long way back and have seen a lot of things in this religious life that we have committed to. And I have total confidence in his abilities to to move us forward according to the Spirit. So all of this has been very exciting after in our conversations and in hearing hearing some of his ideas and the excitement in his voice, the energy that comes from that. Oh, just recharge me. And then after I hang up the phone and ponder a little bit and glow in uh, the light from the conversation, I come home and I realize, oh, yes, I'm not really going to be part of all of that because I'm my mother's son right now more than I am a Claretian missionary priest. So, so that's the tension, if you will, the contrast, the dynamism. Hopefully, I can synthesize all of that. Um, and better said, hopefully, I'll follow the Spirit's lead in how I am being shaped and formed in my faith and just as a human being. It's all connected. There you have it. Art and soul. Mostly art this time around. Mom's doing well. She is just plugging along. She loves doing her exercises. She has a great appetite. She is a champion sleeper. Um, I, I joke and say she's going to outlive me, but sometimes I think it's not a joke. And just an update on my ankle. It was getting better and better. The swelling had gone down, not hurting. I was supposed to take the boot off yesterday and switch to a brace. But then 2 days ago, I started feeling it. And yesterday, it swelled up. And yesterday, it was hurting. So I have a feeling I'm taking steps backwards here. December 14th, I see the podiatrist, and hopefully he'll know what's going on with it because it was a mystery before to him. I guess doctors are human too. Thanks for listening. Whoever you are and wherever you are, I am praying for you. God's grace in abundance. John 10:10 says, Jesus says, I have come that they may have life and have life in abundance. I pray for that life abundance for you. And once in a while, remember me and my mother in your prayers too.